Program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Now, it has been raining early this morning. We have just gone out. We're trying to find some animals, hopefully fresh tracks, and this is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, everyone, and have a look at those clouds hanging above us. We have had some drizzle already. Not sure if it's going to clear up. We actually don't know where it came from. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is Senzo, and then some of you might have seen Taylor, and James is in the tent. So we are all out at the moment, and the ladies in the final control. It is an early start. It's dark, the clouds are over us, and it has been raining, as I mentioned, which is great. Little bit of a drizzle. I think it's going to clear up though. Now, don't forget, everyone, we are completely live and interactive, so send us your questions. Hashtag Safari Live is how you do so, and we'll happily answer them. We love hearing from all our viewers. Let us continue and see what we can find. So this morning early, I heard some leopards no, I'm lying, not leopards. I heard lions calling. So I heard some lions calling. It sounded like very far south, possibly south of the boundary. It did sound like that though, so quite far away. And I'm going to go and check the western boundary and just have a look to see if there's any sign of the Nkuhuma Pride, or potentially any of the coalition members coming through, any of the Birmingham males coming through. That's what we will do. As I said, I think this cloud cover is going to burn off a little bit later. I don't think it's going to hang around for too long, although I never like predicting the weather because it changes all the time, and especially out here. So we shall see, But lovely bit of rain early this morning, which is great for us. Anyway, I'm going to continue to the western section. Let's head across to Taylor, who's dying to say good morning to you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to, of course, another fantastic sunrise safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Craig. Try to do it like a boxing arena. But we are bringing you a virtual safari, as Byron would have told you. So if you have any questions for us, remember hashtag Safari Live, and I shall think of a theme of what screenshots we can send through today, because James is again in the tent. But if the sky clears up, who knows, maybe he decides to go on a little walkabout, but we'll let that oh, he is. Oh, fantastic. James is actually going to be doing bushwalk. He's not going to be doing tent. Well, that's good. That's very exciting. Because I know it's nice to also, of course, get out there, though James creates his own bushwalk around the tent. But in the pre-show, you may have heard, well, in case you haven't and you weren't with us for the pre-show, we're going to be searching for leopards and lions today, any big cat, any sign of any big cats. So I'm just checking Weaver's Nest at the moment for footprints. But this light is horrendous this morning, making it extremely difficult to see tracks. And then let's not forget the downpour that we had must have been about 20 minutes ago now. So anything that has walked, well, their tracks could have been eradicated now thanks to the rain, which is great. You can see I'm thrilled about that. Silly weather. I know you need to keep the grass green, but we want to find Hosana and Shongile. And the rain has just made it that much more difficult. But we'll keep trying anyway. We won't let that get us down. So we will just search and search and search until we find any sign of them. So I think the idea is, because we didn't see any more sign of them yesterday afternoon, let's sort of go back to the last area where I had their tracks. So I'm going to just check this junction of Pangolin track, Weaver's Nest, And then I think I'm going to go straight down to Gowrie Main and just do a very quick boundary patrol, because I don't want to spend hours and hours searching for animals if there's an opportunity, a possibility that they've already crossed south, because I think they're going to be going back towards Baboon Pan area, another spot which they know very well, which they'll feel quite safe and familiar in. And I think that they need that at the moment. So that would be quite nice. That is the idea and the plan for the morning. It's a bit windy too, so I don't know how much luck we're going to have with the general sort of game. So giraffe, Impala will be out, they're always around. Buffalo and things like that might be hiding off in the thicker vegetation, but I think it will hopefully sort of subside, and then it will turn to be a nice day. I can't imagine we're going to have 3 or 4 cold days like we did last week. It's just very, very unusual for this time of the year. I don't think, Craig, how much rain do you think we've had? Last night, yes. Much? A couple of mils. Craig thinks about 5 mils. I'm actually not sure, because Rebecca emptied the rain covers, well, not the rain covers, but we have this massive big tarp over our eating area, and she pushed a whole lot of water out of it this morning. So I'm wondering if we didn't have a little bit more. The ground doesn't look saturated, well, too saturated, so it could have also been that there were just certain clouds that were giving us a downpour, possibly not the entire area, because out here it doesn't look too wet at all. Around camp it looks a lot wetter, but also the ground will absorb this water very, very quickly, so the chances of you really having any evidence that we had quite a bit of rain will be quite slim. The earth is thirsty. Very, very thirsty. And the bush is looking good. I don't think it's looked this good for a couple of years now, which is really great. There are no tracks just yet. We'll just check this junction here. Maybe we're going to go and check towards Treehouse Dam. Byron's also using his spotlight as it's a little bit dark. Let's go and say, well, not go and say, let's go and see if he's picked up on the nkuhumas.
Nothing yet, Taylor, but I hope you have a lot of luck trying to find those 2 young leopards in that area. I do think they are still down there somewhere. Hopefully, they would have been moving around a little bit last night, and chances of finding them might be a bit better this morning. Now, it is still quite dark, as Taylor was mentioning, with the cloud cover. It makes it a bit harder to spot tracks, which we are looking for. Cheryl, it's not I don't think it's necessarily a case to say that the rain will bring the leopards out. You know, it's so difficult, Cheryl, and I'll tell you why. Is because the weather does affect the animals. Definitely does affect the animals, and I think that when it does rain, a lot of the animals do look for a bit of shelter. They might move into the thickets, might not move around as much. Some of the predators don't like the rain very much. They'll generally stay in thicker areas. However, I have seen lions and I have seen leopards moving around in the rain. I think after the rain, now if it stops raining and it becomes quite fresh, and it basically washes away a lot of the scent perhaps from the predators that have been scent marking certain areas, so they may move back through their territory to scent mark again to make sure that their scent is still around. I think the spotlight is now becoming useless. We don't have to use that anymore. It's light enough that we can see. What I'm going to do is also just drive the whole time and just check the roads very carefully. Also, the nice thing with this bit of drizzle now, if we do see tracks, they will be, well, hopefully they'll be on top of the rain, because you can see the raindrops on the sand. So if you see tracks, you know they're fresh, and especially because it rained. See any tracks? If we do see any, alright, sorry, terribly sorry, seem to be losing some signal. But James is out on the bushwalk. He's brave. Maybe he's not going to get wet. Let's go say hello.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that you are all very well indeed. I am very pleased to be out of the tent and in the open. My name is James Henry. David is on camera today, and Herbert is on security detail, tracking, and ethnobotanical knowledge. Wonderful. And just over there is a herd of Impala. And they are wandering across the clearings of quarantine. Now, hashtag Safari Live, as you all know, is how you get hold of us. That is on the tweet. Unfortunately, if I'm silent for 3.5 seconds, there is not a lot of tweeting going on. That is on account of the inclement weather that we find ourselves surrounded and overhung by. I think it's starting to brighten slightly, so I think we're going to be okay. And I'm very pleased to be out on foot. Apparently it's going to be 71 degrees Celsius, at least not Celsius, Fahrenheit, and 20 degrees Celsius. It certainly feels round about that. It doesn't feel very cold at all. I feel the sort of bringing of my jacket on this drive has probably have been a mistake. Anyway, our plan is going to be going to go down towards where we had the last tracks of those cubs yesterday, so maybe we'll be lucky there. Lady Starfire, while we're looking at the antelopen over there that are now wandering gently off towards the north, you say, what is the point of the rings, I think, on the antelope's horns? Well, let's think about which ones have the rings. I know exactly what you mean. The Impala have got the rings, the waterbuck do, but none of the tragophaelids do, so none of the bushbuck, waterbuck, at least bushbuck, kudu or Nyala have got rings. Why would they have them? I think they have them probably so that they can grab each other when they're fighting. So it would create an extra amount of friction when the horns lock with each other, and that perhaps allows them to toss each other around slightly more. I'm going to guess that that's maybe the reason. Perhaps it serves the same function as the spirals do on the spiral-horned antelope. That would be my only guess. I'm not really sure why. I suspect, though, it's got quite a lot to do with the males fighting with each other, and it's probably some sort of adaptation, maybe to taking the shock. Maybe that extra keratin allows sort of less bone damage or something like that, but also perhaps allows them, like I'm trying to think, something rough, it increases the friction when the two horns attack each other or connect with each other, and perhaps that allows the Impala and waterbuck bulls to toss each other about a bit more effectively. That could be my only guess, I'm afraid. Good. The only tweeting bird I can hear right now is an oxpecker as it follows that herd of Impala down towards this north. Not the south. I said south earlier, didn't I? I can never get that right on the first time round. Maybe one day when I'm 65 that will happen. While I consider the incompetence of my ability to tell the direction, we're going to head across to Taylor, who apparently is searching for something that I no longer would recognize.
But we have not found them yet. We're just popping off to one of their favorite areas, Shubamu Pans. We have checked Treehouse Dam, no sign, and no sign of them over here. But we are going to head on to Gari Main now, and then hopefully check that road. It's, like I said, it's very difficult to try and even pick up on tracks, so hopefully once James starts nearing this way, he'll have a much better chance of spotting it, being down closer to the ground on foot. And if I have missed any tracks, hopefully I haven't driven straight over the top of them, and there will still be partial evidence of course. Hang on, what is that? I can see something. It's either a chameleon or a hibiscus flower. I'm not sure. I'm thinking hibiscus flower. Look how good I am at spotting. And there it is. It's beautiful. Isn't it lovely? Just very gently moving around in the wind. Very pretty way to start the morning. Now, where are the footprints of the animals? Because it doesn't look like very much has walked here. It actually just looks like some Impala have perhaps crossed over here. Okay, let's go down towards Twin Dams. Let's check. Ooh. Alright, sorry about that, Craig, a bit of a bump. So this is one of their favourite places to cross in and out. Over all the corrugations, as you may have seen. It's so hard to tell what was actually walking here, just because the rain has unfortunately rained over the top of all of those tracks. So I had no idea what those were. They just looked like circles in the ground, so maybe from something with a hoof, maybe like a kudu, maybe an impala, all walking over, but I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what was going on there. Let's check down this way. They also like this area around the quarry. I've seen the leopard cubs many times. Oh, hang on. Let's see what tracks these are. Now, Chakawas, as I look at these and examine these tracks, you're wondering if there's any specific time of the day. What are you? It's so hot. Sorry, I'm just trying to focus here. It's nothing. I think it's half a hyena track that was then squashed by the rain. So sorry, you were wondering, is there any time of Megan, actually, can I please have that question again, because now I'm not exactly sure what I heard. I think I know what I heard, but yes, is there a preferred time that the animals will hunt for food? Not necessarily. With all the predators, of course, they're not very good hunters. So a lot of the time that they do attempt to hunt, say at night, when ideally the predators will have the best conditions, except if you're a cheetah or a wild dog, then you prefer to hunt during the day. However, the other predators, most of them will be moving around at night. And they're opportunistic feeders, so they might try and make a hunt at night, but they probably won't be successful a couple of times. And then they may just be resting up, who knows, during the day, and an animal sort of stumbles across them and walks into them. Then they'll try and hunt another animal. So even if they're sitting, sleeping, and it's 42 degrees Celsius, there's many corrugations on this road, that won't mind them at all, because if it means that they're going to get a meal, they're going to go for it. So the opportunistic feeders. So lions, leopards, hyenas, they prefer to hunt when it's cooler, when they're not going to use as much energy. However, like I said, it doesn't stop them hunting during the day. I've seen lions hunting wildebeest at 12 o'clock midday, and it must have been about 37 degrees Celsius. So it really, really doesn't stop them at all. So you've just got to keep your eyes open. And that's why we always say you never know what you're going to see. One day I was out on a run during the middle of the day, and I heard, well, a big stampeding buffalo. And I thought, stopped my run, started listening, and went, oh, where am I going to climb? Which tree am I going to go up if they start coming in this direction? Anyway, it turned out it was the lions, Djuma pride, taking on a buffalo, which was quite exciting, and that was also very, very hot. But that didn't seem to bother them at all. It was also during the drought though, so they were a little bit weaker, but it was in January, I think. So it was still exceptionally warm. Now, we're going to keep on searching. I'm not sure what Megan just said to me. James is, of course, on bushwalk if you have just joined us. The light is a bit dull, but I'm sure he's going to hopefully find some wildebeest and impala.
There's a Nyala, not a wildebeest or an impala, and it is wandering towards the WildEarthTV camp. A young bull, there are 3 young bulls here, and if the fence does come into picture, I'm sorry about that, but that is the WildEarthTV camp, from which the guests have just left on their search. Their morning safari, but rainy of course, but that's all right. Now, around this area yesterday evening, I thought I heard some impala alarm calling. Herbert also thought he heard impala alarm calling in here. So maybe there was a leopard lurking about here somewhere. We'll check the area for tracks. And we're also going to head towards where other tracks were seen sometime during the course of yesterday afternoon's drive by Aubrey of Gallagher. It's quite a sort of executive, medieval name. Aubrey of Camp Gallagher. Let us walk towards these Nyala bulls. Which seem to be very relaxedly sitting in these clearings. Shelley, you ask a very good question about the nutrients available from dead, brown and dying grass. Shelley, it's not easy for them to derive nutrition from the winter vegetation. For those Nyala, it'll be okay, however, because they eat leaves, and the last leaves will only fall off the trees in sort of mid-August around then. So they will have stuff to eat, but it will get of poorer and poorer quality as the season goes on. Grass-wise, you must remember, if we look at this particular piece of grass, for example, there's almost no nutrition in this at all. It's straw. It's almost entirely cellulose and lignin, and there is virtually no sort of nutritional value in that. That said, because of the bacteria in the guts of all of the herbivores out here, they're able to break that down and derive something from it. However, that is not what a herbivore will eat. A herbivore comes down, and although this stuff starts to look quite green and at least quite brown and sort of yellow, it's these leaves here that the herbivores will come and eat. And they will last, well, they'll probably last another 2 months or so. And every time there's a little spray of rain, they'll throw up some more green leaves. So that's what the herbivores are going for. Likewise, you and I couldn't eat that because there is too much cellulose, there is too much lignin in the structure of this leaf, which means that to derive sufficient nutrition from it is very difficult, and you have to have the bacteria in the gut to do that. So, yes, they will certainly derive far less nutrition during the winter time, but there is sufficient in here, especially after a nice rainy season that we've had, for them and their bacteria that live in the gut to derive or pull sufficient nutrients from what is available. I thought I heard monkeys, but I didn't. Herbert is looking very relaxed. Okay, there's just quite a nice picture of Herbert wandering down there. There he is. He's just gone behind the tree. Anyway, Kirk, you're wondering how come it is that we don't ever see an overweight animal in the bush. Kurt, the reason, Kirk or Kurt, Captain or Douglas, that was such a dreadful joke. I'm sorry about that. Let me just continue to think about this. Okay. Animals don't get overweight in the bush because, and sometimes they do, but they're very seldom, because they simply are not designed to. They're designed to derive as much nutrient as possible. All of the food around here that they eat is what they evolved eating. So this is what they evolved to eat. And they don't lay down fat because, or they do to a certain extent, they lay down a bit of fat, but they don't lay down enormous amounts of fat because there's generally enough to eat throughout the year. Now, if you look at something like a grizzly bear, for example, a bear will get fat. A bear will put on enormous of fat reserves to get it through a time of the year when there is nothing to eat. That's why they hibernate. So a bear will get tremendously fat, overweight it's not overweight, they just will lay down fat over the course of the summer season, and then they'll use that fat during the winter time. Now that doesn't happen out here, and in fact an African savanna animal, of all the nutrients that our human ancestors struggled to find, fat was the most difficult to get hold of, because the savanna animals don't lay down fat. They don't lay down a huge amount of fat simply because they don't need to, and A, they don't need to because there is food most of the year, and B, it's difficult to manufacture fat out of something like grass. And consequently, the predators also don't lay down fat. Now remember, human beings living in this area did used to lay down fat, and in fact you can still see it in the, you can still see the pattern of where fat was laid down in some of the people who have sort of direct links or direct ancestors with some of the original peoples of South Africa, like the Bushmen or the Khoisan people, and it's a condition called steatopigia. It's not a condition. It's just it's the pattern of fat, of laying down fat, and it's on the bottom. And there are many people that will say that I exhibit some degree of steatopigia with my bubble butt, but that is why And people do lay down fat on the bottom. That was a way of carrying nutrients, of carrying fat, specifically women, because they needed those fat reserves for pregnancy, to bring fetuses to term. So that sort of thing used to happen out here with human beings. But you must also remember that human beings now show such a tremendous propensity to obesity because we do not eat what we evolved to eat. And I read this very morning in a book about how in times of hunter-gatherer times, as soon as there was something sweet, like a marula fruit, well, then you had to eat as much of that marula fruit as possible because it was going to disappear in 2 or 3 days. You know, all the fruit would either rot, or an elephant or a troop of baboons would come and take it away, and then it would be gone, and it would be gone for the whole year. Now, of course, because we have that propensity still built within us to eat as much as humanly possible when it's available, we overeat because food is always available. And that's why we have this, or one of the reasons we have this obesity epidemic. When we find something sweet, we shovel it into our faces as fast as possible because that's what our human ancestors would have done. They would have found a beehive, or they would have found a marula tree that had marula tree fruits underneath it, very sweet, very delicious. They would have wolfed down as much sugar as they possibly could, but then they would have gone months without having it again. And that is not the case with human society now. Of course, we eat sweet stuff, and then we feel the need for it again, and we just go and buy some more, and that's why we get rather fat. And there's probably a lot more steer to piggier in human beings these days than there was back in our hunter-gatherer days of old. Let us head across to Byron. I'm just trying to see if I can hear him. I cannot. I do not know where he is, but he will tell you.
James, I'm actually quite far from where you are. You're out near Quarantine. I'm right up on the northern boundary of Djuma, on the Buffalo's Hook cut line, and I'm trying to see if I can find any tracks of lions potentially crossing into our area, or just moving around in general, but no sign just yet. I haven't seen any tracks. Actually, haven't seen anything yet. But it's still early, and I still think because of the weather, the animals might take a bit longer to really get up and move around. It's still cloudy, however the clouds do look as if they are dissipating slightly. Oh, I think that's word of the day. James would be very impressed. Just want to scan around here. I think perhaps we're going to have to rely on just stopping and listening for a little bit, because I can't see anything. I haven't seen anything just yet, and that's quite important, is to stop and listen. William, you asked if the guides refrain from wearing cologne and deodorant. Well, I don't think many guides wear cologne. I don't know, perhaps if they're trying to impress a guest, maybe. But no, not that I know of. Guides don't wear cologne. But sorry, I know, Megan, I know what he means. So I know the animals will pick up probably on a strong smell like that very easily. But deodorant, I'm sure, yeah, most of us do. If you don't, you start smelling really bad out here, I think. So, yeah, but I think, you know, on the bush walks and that, it doesn't matter. And now it doesn't matter if you've got... Obviously, if you've got a strong cologne on, that smell will be a lot stronger and will drift. However, whatever your scent is, the animals will pick up on that. It doesn't matter. Sorry, it's a hippo. heard a hippo in Buffelshoek Dam, we will head down there. So the animals will pick up on your scent regardless. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. If the wind is blowing towards them, you could have absolutely nothing on, and they would still pick up on your scent because we smell different. We don't smell like something that they see out here very often. But no, it's not a case of refraining from wearing cologne or deodorant. I just don't think many guides do. And it'll also just be, I think, quite strong out here. You'd smell it too easily. Now we'll head down towards Buffelshoek Dam. Maybe we have some activity around there. I know there are hippo there. I could hear them already, so they are in the dam. To find something else heading down to the dam. Oh dear, it sounds like our signal this morning. It looks like we've got all the gremlins with us. Let's head back to James on Bushwalk and see what his plan is.
Well, my plan hasn't changed, everybody, and well, that was a that's a flower that David picked to show us. It is a Waltheria. I have nothing else to say about Waltheria. I've said everything there is to say about Waltheria over the last little while, so we're going to keep on going. And the plan hasn't changed at all. We're going towards the central areas of the reserve to try and find ourselves some tracks of the leopards. Herbert is out front, striding ahead, and I'm quite nervous because he took his jersey off, which means, of course, that he is now going to walk at a speed and for some distance. There he is. He's very serious about today's walk. He wants to go and find some leopards for us, which, of course, we don't mind at all, do we? Quite like to see some leopards, really, as opposed to trying to find things on Waltheria. Now, Bonnie, in Australia, you're wondering about worms and whether wild animals get worms. Almost certainly they will have a suite of worms, the likes of which would make you balk. Every single animal out here is filled with parasites, parasitoids and parasites. They either cause a little bit of harm, do no harm, or indeed can cause enormous amounts of harm in their bodies. You and I are exactly the same. We know that there are bacteria all over us. There are probably various other parasites and things inside our guts that are deriving nutrients off us and giving us no benefit whatsoever. The animals out here are no different. And the worms that live in the intestines of various creatures around the world have to live in the wild, and that's what they do. So yes, there are plenty of worms out here. How much harm they do, however, very much depends, I think, on the nutritional status of the animal that they're in. And most of the time you will find that, the number of parasites, animals and us, I have to stop and think about this because I'm unable to form this thought while walking at the same time. The number of parasites that we have in our bodies and that the animals out here have in our bodies, if we were to remove those parasites, I think we'd have to eat a quarter of what we have to eat. We'd probably feel suddenly elated and much better just about all the time. So those worms and things are a constant part of our lives and all of the lives of the animals out here. And certainly one of the things that we saw, the last time I saw Sindile actually, he was vomiting. Sindile is a young male leopard that we used to see quite a lot. And he vomited, and Wiem and I went to examine his vomit afterwards. Now, I know that's a bit disgusting, but we thought we'd seen a big worm coming out of his mouth, and there was. It was a huge thing that looked like a tapeworm, about that long, that had come out of his intestines. You can be sure that every leopard and every lion out here has got worms in its intestine. But they've coped, or they've been designed and have developed and adapted to having those worms and parasites in their bodies, and that's just a part of their lives, and so they get on with it in the same way that we do. I think you'll find that domestic animals need to be treated for worms and that sort of thing because they lack the natural sort of lack the natural immunization, then lack the natural, what is the word I'm fighting for, David? They lack the natural resistance. There we go. It wasn't a complicated word. They lack the natural resistance to the parasites that you find in the wild. So you have to help them along. You have to take them to the vet. The vet has to make a living as well. So, you know, that's what we do at the vet. There was another question there about could I find some scat to find, maybe find some of these parasites. We should actually do that. Abigail, we will try and pick some, maybe try and find some scat and take it to put under the microscope. It's really only under the microscope that you'll find all the tiny little worms and things that live in the guts, especially of the carnivores. You'll find far fewer in the guts of the vegetarians out here, the carnivores much more. And I know that people who handle lions, for example, people who have spent time touching lions and raising small cubs, especially to adulthood, have to be very careful about washing their hands and that sort of thing, because the lions have got all sorts of nasty things in their guts and in their livers, and you can pick up liver flukes quite badly from lions. So, yes, in short, there are worms out here. Everywhere around us, worms. I'm going to try and avoid the worms while Byron shows you something that is doing what I don't like to do on a day like today.
Don't you like to swim on a day like today, James? We've got some hippo, but this is interesting. We now have 5 hippo in Buffelshoek Dam. No longer just the 4. We've got 5 of them. This one closest to us is the big male. I can just see by the size of his head, he's definitely the big male. And then I'm not sure if the others are only females, or if there are some young males there too, but they do look like there are some younger hippo and females. Now I think what's happened is this dominant male is potentially trying to mate with some of these females. We saw him mating with at least one of the females the other day. So he's got a nice little spot here for himself, and they are territorial. The males will be territorial. He will try and keep out any other males, but I don't think that any hippo will come and challenge this big male. He's rather large. Watch, I might see some interaction here. See how they're snorting at one another? It's almost like I do think that the one is a female, the one off to the left, it's just gone under. Now the thing is, what happens too is because these hippo keep bobbing up and down. There we go, you can see all 5 now. I was going to say some of you might not believe me that they're 5, but they are. There was a quick glimpse of all 5 of them with their heads up. Now I think they would have returned to the water very, very recently, because they most likely would have been out feeding during the night. I actually wonder if they would have been out while it was raining, or if they decided to return to the water before the rain. I'm not sure. I mean, I've seen hippo out in the rain before, but I don't know if they just prefer being in the water when it does rain. So, Michael, I think what happens with hippo when they're moving around, they start to get to know their territory very well. So that's how they can learn where the bodies of water are. And they also probably pick up on the smell of water. A lot of these animals can smell the water from quite far away. Elephant do, and I wouldn't be surprised if the hippo do too. Listen, see, there's definitely interaction going on here. Now it appears, now I'm not sure, but it appears as if the male is, I don't know if he's recently moved into the area. I'm just trying to think now, because we saw a male, I don't know if it's the same male, but we saw a male the other day that was mating here. This male looks very big, judging by the size of his head. But every time he tries to move closer to the hippo, the one hippo kind of gets in the way. That one's sticky and set up just to the left. If we move to the left, there we go, that one. That one over there. Wow, watch his yawn. Wow, that's a big mouth. I was hoping he'd really lift his mouth out of the water. He didn't. That's often a bit of a display. Now, I don't know if it's because that other hippo is preventing this male from moving closer to those younger ones. Again, I don't know, but it's just interesting behavior. I can see there's definitely a bit of conflict between two hippo here at the moment, between this big male and that other hippo, which I'm not sure if it is a female or a younger male. I doubt it would be a younger male, because this big male would not tolerate a male trying to keep him away from females. I think it is just a female that's potentially trying to protect the younger hippo. Not that there's any danger, but I think with all animals, when there are big males that are potentially looking to mate, the females do become a bit uneasy in the whole group, whether it be a lion pride, whether it be a herd of elephant. And they all become very uneasy and nervous when a big male full of testosterone comes in. Look at that. Yes, wow, look at those teeth, those big tusks of the hippo. This is really great interaction. There, have a look at now. Watch, see, he's moving closer, but there's a lot of snorting. He's been opening his mouth, often opening the mouth, displaying those teeth. There's a bit of a territorial or dominance display. They will try and intimidate some of the other hippo. Also, if, for example, if an animal, if we got too close to the water, hippo will start yawning and sometimes thrash their head through the water. All signs that they are uneasy or feeling aggressive. A bit of a warning sign not to come closer. MJ, the hippo can hold their breath underwater for about 7 to 8 minutes. However, on average, it's probably about 1 or 2 minutes that they choose to stay under. But they can stay under for quite a lengthy period of time. And MJ, the time that they usually do that, or whenever they do that, is just when they in perhaps deep rivers in certain parts of Africa, and they cross from one side to the other or move around. Then you'll see hippo do hold their breath for a lot longer, and they'll stay under when they're running on the bottom of the riverbeds or of the waterholes. This little waterhole is shallow enough that they'd be able to stand in here. Hippo don't swim or float, so they'll be able to stand in here, and they can keep raising their heads up to get a little bit of breath of air. Just have a look. The sun is breaking through the clouds. Lovely little sunrise there, just through there. So that should help starting to burn off some of this this cloud cover. Isn't that beautiful? Now Taylor, I'm not sure where she is at the moment, but she's also appreciating the sunrise. Let's see where she is.
Well, we had a sunrise and it's just disappeared behind the clouds now, as you could just see, but it was beautiful. It looked like what I would imagine Mars to look like, with all of the clouds, with, of course, the bright red ball of fire. But unfortunately, that is the end of that. Ah, wonderful. Right, let's carry on. Let's hope we're going to have better luck elsewhere. Because if, well, the sun doesn't even want to stare out and show itself to us, I'm feeling a little bit down now. Hey, Craig? That hurt my feelings quite a bit. Oh, well. I'm just quickly, so the Game Drive radio has just started going. We're on Cheetah Plains, in case you're wondering. We've come out all the way over here. I can't believe that. And I don't know what we're going to find this morning, but we're going to try our absolute best to find loads and loads of animals. And we're just coming down on the eastern boundary at the moment. I think we might check 3 in a row pan very quickly just to see, because there's a couple of leopards that like to visit that spot, and I'm thinking maybe we can get lucky. Quarantine in Kanyeni, Votomi, Kuchava, many different leopards that like it. So we'll check around there very quickly, check Quarantine's favorite marula tree that he always seems to be sitting in, and then we will go towards the big wide open plains and hopefully find some more animals over there. And then once we finish looking at those animals, then we'll go see the other animals that will be down at Buffalo Pad. Maybe if I'm just optimistic like that, we will get it. Let's go and have a look. We're not too far away now for 3 in a row pan. We're coming up to the junction of the road. And this is also a very good spot here. I always smell that sort of battered popcorn scent most mornings that I come through here. So I think could be a good spot for leopards to mark when they do come through. Oh, hello, little birdies all flying around. I can't even see what you are. You're so small. Okay, Craig, what do you think we're going to see at the pans? Buffalo and lions. Craig says buffalo and lions. Now, actually, you're wondering how many species of birds live in South Africa. I think it's something like 852 species of birds, somewhere around there. So plenty, many birds. We're very lucky. So if you are a keen birder, South Africa is a great place to come and visit. But I would suggest that you go and visit different areas. We've got the sun back, Craig. We've got the sun back. Before it disappears again. We've managed to get it. Whew! Who would have thought chasing after the sun would be this difficult? Now, a moment ago, and we might get it again, because there's some very small clouds coming through. And we're just sort of over the top of the sun, and it created the most amazing effect. Like I said, it almost looked like it was something out of Mars, out of a science fiction movie. Maybe if we stare at it for long enough, it will happen again. Come on, little small clouds, but it is starting to burn away at some of them. The big, dense, heavier clouds have now started to lift as well. You can see a few of them just in the distance over there. A little bit gloomy still coming from the south, so who knows, maybe there's still another bouts of bad weather on its way. I hope not, though, because I really am looking forward to the clear skies of winter, seeing a sunrise and a sunset every single day. But very beautiful nonetheless, not like the ones that we've had this over the past few days. We've had some corker sunrises and some great sunsets. Maybe, well, things are now starting to look a little bit better. I'm starting to feel a little bit more positive now. Seeing as though the sun decided to come back out. Alright. Well, we're going to keep looking around here at 3 in a row pan. Hopefully we're going to find something exciting. Byron is still sitting with a group of hippo.
I am indeed, Taylor. There's hippo still enjoying the water, but there's definitely a bit of interaction going on here between this big male and the other hippo. And as I say that, they all disappear under the water. Lady Starfire, it's an interesting question about if the females vocalize as much as the males do. Now, I'm not sure. I'll tell you why I'm not sure is because it's very difficult and to again, like these hippo here, I mean, this is a large one. Now, I wonder if that isn't another male there. I doubt it. So I'm just trying to work out, Lady Starfire, I'm just trying to work out if these are potentially two males that are having a bit of a standoff here. But I do think it would have been maybe a bit more aggressive. I don't know, because there are two big hippo, large hippo. But this one on the right definitely looks much, much bigger. Now, in terms of the vocalization, Lady Starfire, I've heard many times before when I've watched pods of hippo, all the hippo calling together. So I don't think it's a case of males potentially calling more than females. I'm sure to an extent, if we had to sit and monitor them, the male would probably call a bit more than the females, but they definitely do all call. But it's very difficult to tell, because often when they're all in a pod, you can't really see who's calling, and then they all start together. So it's a difficult question for me to answer. However, I can guarantee that they all call, males and females, and often they do call. Now, Abigail, well, let's just see here. Let's see, are they going to interact at all? I definitely think, you know what, I do think there's a territorial display going on here, territorial dispute a little bit. Perhaps they're just sizing each other up. Now, Abigail, all the way from Canada, you wanted to know why the hippo spray their dung or flick their dung around. The main reason is the males do that more than the females do, and the reason is to mark territory. So what happens is they're very territorial around the water holes. The territories become a lot more relaxed outside of the water, but they are still territorial. Males will go and flick their dung. They flick their tail from side to side, and it sprays their dung over the branches. Over branches of trees, and what happens then is that allows them to mark their territory. So that's why the hippo do it. Now, I just saw this male as he approached, and I think that other one is a male too. As he approached, he started to flick his tail a little bit. Now, that's a sign of challenging, possibly for territory. So I do think there must be something going on here that, just from what I can pick up, is it looks like it's possibly a territorial dispute, but I'm not sure. Jason, all the way from Sri Lanka, you wanted to know if the hippo can live without a body of water, a river or a dam like this. Jason, they can live out of the water for a period of time. However, hippo are aquatic mammals. They do prefer the water. They do need to be close to water. The only times that they would live out of water is in drought, if there's very little water, and even then they start struggling. Their skin doesn't handle the heat of the day very well. They've got very sensitive skin, so I don't think they would be able to live for long periods without water, or in an area where there isn't water. I do think the hippo need the water. Red, if you watch that hippo closely. Let's watch their ears. Okay, just watch closely. Look again. He flicked his tail again. That big male on the right. Now, Red, you asked about do they close their ears. You see the ears as they submerge, they fold their ears down, and then when they come out the water, they often flick them. You see, they bend their ears down. So I do think they try to close their ears slightly just by folding them against the top of their head. So I'm sure that helps with and then they flick their ears like that, as you saw there. But watch, you see, bend and fold their ears down again. We'll see when he does come up, often they flick their ears. So I do think that helps prevent water from going into their ears, yeah, so I do think they fold them just tightly against the head a little bit. Watch, let's see if he does it. Oh, he didn't do the ear flick there. And Donna, no, Hippo won't mate for life, because what happens is they will always be challenged. You'll always have males coming in challenging males for their territory, for dominance. So what happens is a single male will potentially mate with a number of females within a pod, and then if he gets chased off, then another male or new male will come in and mate with them. So it's not a case of them pairing up and mating for life. A big dominant male will have a number of females that he will mate with and then move from one dam to another, trying to look for other females. I always think that sitting around, being patient like this does pay off. Potentially have a predator walk down and just wander past the dam. That would be great. That would be a lovely surprise. Psycho Susie. Hello, Psycho Susie. You wanted to know if they drink water under the water when they are there. I'm sure they would. But I don't know. I suppose they can drink water any time they want. I'm sure if they really wanted to, they would drink while they were under. But I mean, how much water do they drink? I don't know. I've never read anything about the amount of water hippo drink, because who knows? They're in the water all the time. So I do think that at any stage, if they wanted to, they could drink under the water, or just, even if their head's above, they could just allow a little bit of water in their mouths. Also, with one thing being in the water all the time, they probably don't have to drink as much, because they're not losing a lot of moisture. They're in the water, so who knows? I don't know how much they drink or how often, but they could easily drink under the water or above the water. It all depends. This is very interesting behavior. I must be honest, I do wish that we could actually see if these two hippo are going to fight. Then it will prove my theory correct. So I'm going to sit here a little bit longer. James, however, can hear some alarm calls. Let's go see what's happening on that side.
Well, we can't actually see what's happening on this side at the moment. We're rather hoping that there would be a leopard around here. But up above us, in this tambuti tree, there were some birds going absolutely ballistic, and they're now going slightly more ballistic just further up the drainage line. And Herbert thinks probably an owl. Herbie, not a leopard. He thinks an owl was probably sitting in the tree here, causing the consternation amongst the starlings and the grey go-away birds. But they've now gone much too far away for it to have been something that was walking along the ground. So I think probably what happened is the predator, whatever it was, probably an owl in this tree, has flown off up the drainage line and still causing quite a lot of consternation. We, of course, are not tracking owls this morning, are we, David?
Nope.
No, we're not. So we're going to head back down towards the south now. Just a really pretty area, this, and the smell around here after the light sprinkling of rain that we've had. Very fertile and petrichorish, really. Very nice indeed. It feels quite fertile and very unwintery today. It feels quite hot. I've taken my jersey off. You see that, David? Good. Okay, on we go. I must just also say to you And yesterday I told you a lie, and my chief, what should we call her? We should call her my fact checker is the wrong word. We'll call her the... I'm going to call her the keeper of my truth. That is the Judy H. I told you yesterday, after a question about goggles on hippopotamus, and I was asked whether or not they had a membrane that allowed them to see nicely under the water. And I said, no, don't be ridiculous, they don't have that. I was wrong. Judy H. pointed out that in fact they do have a special membrane that goes over the eyes and helps them to see under the water. This plant... So I do apologize for my foul and contemptible untruth to you yesterday. I didn't mean to. This plant, very unusual in this area, the dwarf bush cherry. I point it out every time I find it because it is not very common. It's also not particularly exciting, really. But I quite like it because it was one of the first trees that I identified on my own. Merua parvifolia. Are you amazed, David? Yes, I thought you might be. Merua parvifolia. There's a very small spider living here as well. It's so small that I can't even see it. I can just see where it lives. Very nice. Tony, you're wondering if I'm not worried about ticks or lice in the bush while I walk in shorts. Tony, I'm not hugely worried about them. We're not really in tick season at the moment. There are not a huge number of ticks around. Yes, there will be some, but we just brush them off and check our legs. And once you've had tick bite fever from one area, you can sort of get it again, but it doesn't come back in a way that would sort of leave you bedridden at all. So I don't worry about them too much. Lice, no, not so much. Lice, as far as I'm aware, need hair to live in. And, well, I've got some on my legs. I've got none on my head. So it doesn't really worry me too much. And there's a huge amount. We often get questions about... why do we walk in shorts? Surely you should walk in the wilderness with long pants on. And no, out here it's really not necessary. Probably in some areas, especially in Europe, where you get encephalitis causing ticks, well then yes, you want to be walking in long pants. Okay, let's head across to Taylor. We're about to go through this drainage line. We'll lose our signal. She has got some impalas and some birds that like to eat the ticks on them.
Not anymore. They're gone. They moved out of view and into a thicket, unfortunately, but we've arrived at Buff Pan. Let's see what we're going to find over here. Maybe a leopard? Hopefully a leopard. Please be a leopard. I'm not feeling too optimistic this morning about the animals that we're going to see. Maybe we're going to have to do plants today and birds. Right, it's looking a bit quiet. Let's just have a look. There's no hippos. I can't see any bubbles breaking the surface. You can see it's fairly quiet. Just a couple of insects out this morning, moving around on the surface of the water. But other than that, that is all that is here. I think I can hear a brew calling though, which is a bird that sounds like a telephone. I don't know where it is. I think it could be quite far away, somewhere down that way. They're very pretty. Actually, I'd like to show you a photo of a brew because they're quite lovely. Let me pull out my mobile device, bird app. And let's go field guide, B for brew. There it is. I haven't seen one in quite some time. Here's a decent photo. Oh, that's a lovely picture. Look how stunning they are. Now, I don't know how many of you have actually seen a brew before, but we'll make it our mission to try and find one for you. Look at that lovely sort of chestnut color stripe going down its body. And then, of course, the beautiful black and white sort of contrast on it is quite lovely. They like to sit on the tops of the trees and ring like telephones. So that's what I'm hearing, but it's very far away. Let's go back. Let's go back towards the big open plains of Cheetah Plains. Right, let's just poke our bottom in here and we'll turn around this way. Almost. Whee! Into the guarri tree we go. Luckily no thorns drip the canvas roof. That's why you've got to be careful with off-roading as well when you've got the roof on. Because it is so easy to rip this canvas. And as most of you know, we don't really live near any big cities. Hoedspruit, which is the closest little town, is an hour and a half away. and they don't really have all the supplies that we need. We have to get a lot of things from Johannesburg, which is a good 6 hours drive away. We need to look after the things that we have. Right, let's go through. Where is everybody? Everybody keeps running into the thickets. As we came round, I thought we were going to get another view of the Impala, but that's not the case because they just ran into another thicket. They're chasing each other around. Byron's having a fun day with the hippos. I'm wondering if he's going to get in and join them.
No, Taylor, I'm not going to get in and join this hippo. But I do think that these two males are potentially having a standoff. I do think it is a standoff between two males, but look at the beautiful reflection of the sun on that water. Very beautiful. Bit of an artistic shot there. See, so there's just been a bit of grunting at one another. There's been some tail flicking, but no sign of them actually engaging in any form of fight. But as I said, I find it strange because the one on the right, let's see if he sticks his head up again. This one over here, it seems to be, he looks like he's very, very big compared to the other one. However, that other one, there's the other one, just there. And I don't think we've seen the full size of his body, possibly in deeper water. We haven't really seen the back of his head, but he also does look quite large. They're just doing this up and down, up and down. Every now and then they get a bit close, they snort at one another, bit of a tail flick, and then they back off. So I don't know if it's a case of them sizing one another up, or if they don't want to really engage in a serious fight. I was just telling Senzo how when I worked at Londolozi, it's on the Sand River, and there's plenty of hippo in the river. And often we would get down to the deck, and the guests would tell us about the horrific sounds they heard in the evening, and something was killing something else, and what was it? And it was the hippos often fighting in the evenings. But it is the strangest sound, these weird bellowing and screams and very, very strange sounds. But it's very loud, so people would hear this and not know what it was. It's a very, very strange sound. You know, they do that. But then also something like that. But a lot of sounds that are strange and unusual. That's just the normal grunting that they do, but let's have a look at, you see, as they get closer they snort and then they back off a little bit. Interesting behavior. So again, that would make sense why there are now 5 hippo all of a sudden in this dam. It's potentially this new male has come in to try and challenge. Peyton, yes, the male tusks are bigger than the females, and that's kind of one of the ways and again, it's very difficult to tell if the hippo is male or female just by looking at the heads, because often you just see the eyes or the nostrils. But the males, the male muzzle, I suppose you could call it, is a bit wider, a bit thicker, but also you'll see these 2 protrusions a little bit just behind the nostrils, and that's from those large tusks, because the large tusks fit into the top jaw, so they cause these protrusions to be a little bit more prominent than on the females. So that's what you can look for, and I've seen that on both those 2 hippo. That's why I'm convinced that they are both male. because I could see the one on the right has got very prominent protrusions, and the one on the left not as prominent, but we haven't seen his whole head. He's kind of just sticking a portion of it out, but I could see that he also has that. And the male tusks do get bigger. I've seen male tusks that are about, I'm not joking, this thick, a single tusk this thick and about that long. It's incredible. If someone said to me that's how long, I would say no, that's impossible. But they're literally that long and that thick. They're huge, they're massive. And what happens is, because they shave up against the other teeth, it causes them to sharpen. So they're sharp, massive tusks that they'll use to protect themselves or fight for territory. And they can cause a lot of damage. I often find hippo with scratches all over their body, and I've even found a hippo before that was killed by another hippo because the teeth actually, or those tusks, managed to puncture the body and it killed another hippo. So they can be very violent and very powerful. I don't think we're going to get any activity from them here. I think it's more of a standoff, but we will monitor them over the next few days and see if one does get pushed off. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on, see what else we can find. But Brent is out on drive this morning in the Mara, and he's got something in the tree that we don't often see.
Well, we've been following definitely fast becoming one of my favorite prides of lions. Good morning, our buddy us boy from Kenya. My name is Brent Smith. I got eggsy in camera, and we got a lion in a tree. So one of the members of the Angama pride is up in the tree, and we've seen, and they're all quite hungry, so she's trying to find herself a meal at the moment. And isn't this just spectacular? Hello, Prissy. Now she is gorgeous, and the rest of the 4 females are disappearing just to the southeast of us. You can just see their backs. Oh wait, sorry, eggs. She's going down. She's going down. That was my fault. Here we go, here she comes down. And she's seen, what she's seen is that the other members of the pride disappearing. She doesn't want to be left behind. Off you go. Now, the cubs were with them, but you can't really see the cubs in this long grass. Isn't that spectacular? And she's heading now down towards the Mara River floodplain, where we've been seeing them quite often. We're quite close to the escarpment at the moment. Now they are quite hungry. With 7 little cubs to feed, it's not surprising. Okay, we're going to have to try catch up with them. Okay, let's go. Hold on. So I'm going to try to get back to a little road that runs down towards the main road where the lions are heading towards. Whoa! See, you got to be careful. There's some big holes about here. Okay, well, one more bump. George says, I just love the landscape in the Mara. Indeed, George, it is absolutely spectacular. These vistas are just to die for. But I am hoping our lovely Angama pride are going to be on the hunt this morning. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about that baby buffalo down there later to check. But literally, as we came down the mountain, we're straight into lions. So, who's... Okay. Bit of a traffic jam about to happen. And just to make space. Buddy! Whoa, don't reverse. I thought he was going to reverse it to us for a second. VR Viking are wondering what are those trees? Well, the tree that we saw the lion in now is a shepherd's tree, and the lions seem to be their favorite climbing tree. Sorry, I'm just trying to. Can you see them, eggs? They crossed the road already. Hold on, guys, hold on. We're getting there. Now, we're up along the escarpment here, and this is one of the areas we can off-road. But if they do cross the main road, there's a lot of seeps and swamps there, and we're not going to be able to follow them, but we will do our best. There's just so much water here, and the water just seeps through the ground, and you've got to be very careful when you're driving off-road. You've got to look at the different grass species, because you don't want to just go down into that mud, which would be quite unpleasant and probably take to get unstuck from. Okay. Hi, Karen. Karen wonders if the grass can get taller than it is now. Yes, it can, Karen. This hasn't been a particularly wet year, so sometimes the grass can be a bit taller. And it also, oh, hold on, it depends in what areas you go to. So there's some areas that I went through yesterday where the grass is much taller than here. Okay, we're going to go through some mud now. There we go, no problem. Okay, let's see if we can catch up with the... Oh, they've moved fast. You see them there, eggs, on top of the termite mound in the distance. So they have crossed the road already. Okay, let's have a quick look. Morning, Michael. Let me just get Xander in the right spot. You happy? Now, Michael... Oh, she's on the move again. Michael's wondering... Oh, she's heading straight towards an elephant. What's the difference between the lions of the Mara and the lions of the Sabi Sands? Well, Michael, I'd say probably on average the lions in the Mara are a little bit heavier, just because they are able to get a little bit more food, and there's more game around. Now, also I was... Oh, they've both gone down now. You've got one. Well done, eggs. Oh, moving straight towards that elephant. Doug, are there any roads down there?
There is one that is behind us here.
Yeah.
We're going to drive across down that direction.
Okay. So there might be a road heading in that direction. Look, there we go. Line past elephant. Isn't that cool? There are quite a few elephants in this area. The elephant bulls seem to like this area. There's some big seeps. Sure, but these girls are walking fast. Here we go. You got the one on top termite mound? Hi, Anna Marie. Anna Marie is wondering how many adult lionesses are in their Angama Pride. Well, Anna Marie, in this sort of, it's split into two groups. There are 4 adult lionesses in this pride, 7 cubs, and then a little bit further to sort of the east of us, there's another 3 adult lionesses that are part of the Angama Pride, but they do sometimes not, well, they don't come together that often, but they are part of the same pride. See, now they're looking down towards the plains, hoping for some warthog, which seems to be the Angama Pride's favourite food, while the wildebeest are not here. Now, they've left the cubs in the long grass somewhere. I'm not sure where. banded mongoose. I think someone was asking yesterday about mongoose, but here we go. There's a big group of banded mongoose crossing the road. They're like a wave. All the stragglers, they don't like being left alone. Off they go. Banded mongoose. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm just taking my binos and I'm having a look where the lions are looking. And we're trying to see if there's any potential prey ahead. It doesn't look like it. And we've got to go explore some new areas now. So I think we'll probably try follow back with these lions this afternoon. But while we go exploring, let's go to James, who's got a fungi.
Well, I've got a fungus, everybody. I've also got quite a lot of rain. There's been rain on my head. And I don't like it when it falls on my head because it ruins my hairdo. I am sitting with the fungus and a number of fungi, I suppose, and they are growing out of a rhino midden. In other words, I'm sitting on a pile of material that has come through the digestive system of a rhinoceros. Here it is, very nice. And there is the beautiful, beautiful mushroom. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's called a bush black cap. I think that's what it's called. And I believe that they are quite toxic. And it leaves a sort of inky residue on the fingers there. And I must remember now not to suck my thumb, David. Otherwise I'll start seeing goblins where there aren't any. I'll start seeing gremlins, like the ones I described yesterday evening. Now, Abigail, I think you wanted us to show you some dung, and I think you were probably not hoping so much for a fungus here, but something from another kingdom entirely, some worms. And I don't think that we would find worms in here. I think that we would find bacteria if we were to sort of look deep enough and then sort of examine underneath a microscope. I think we'd find some bacteria. Oh, it's quite nice and warm in there, David. Are you feeling cold? We can just cover you in warm dung. It's only warm because there is metabolic heat here. Now that means that there are organisms underneath the ground here. It also means that this is a superb insulator, so it's probably holding the warmth from yesterday from the sun. It was quite a hot day. But I suspect also that if you dig in here, there is a lot of metabolic heat that's coming from the creatures that are living in here. That'll be bacteria, it'll be dung beetles. Oh, look, this is fantastic. I'm just going to open this up and then we're going to cover it up again. Dave, have you ever wondered what a dung beetle's larva looks like? There it is. Look at that disgusting looking thing. Everybody, you're going to be disgusted by what you witness now. You see that?
Yep.
That is what we used to term when we were kids, a cutworm. Isn't that cool? I will cover it up again because it's going to become a valuable, valuable dung beetle. And I think it's being tended, if I'm not mistaken, by some termites. No, it's not. Those are its legs. I don't want to take it out because I think it'll get a nasty fright. Isn't that amazing? So that'll be the larva of a dung beetle. And what it's doing there, of course, is just eating dung until it becomes sort of old enough to pupate. And then it will pupate and become a beetle. It'll go through the full hollow metabolic life cycle and is burying itself again. That's very clever of it. Phew! Timon and Pumbaa would have really liked eating this thing. Isn't he amazing? He's like one big muscle of dung eating. Right, I'm going to cover him up again. I don't think it's very fair to uncover him like that. But it's from his metabolic heat and the metabolic heat of lots of other animals that this amazing pile of dung is maintaining its heat. Now, let me just give this a smell. It's much, much less fragrant than elephant dung, and that's because, of course, it's not as varied. This is just grass. There's nothing else in it, unlike an elephant's dung, of course, which contains many different kinds of leaves and bark and all sorts of things. That makes it smell like potpourri. This just smells like earth, really. which is a very pleasant smell, especially on a bit of a rainy day like this. Good, on we go. Beautiful. Byron apparently has managed to leave Buffelshoek Dam, and he is now sitting with the animal that we showed you first this morning.
Yes, indeed, James. They're in Nyala. Now, I'm just trying to see the two of them. I wonder if they're going to display for us a little bit. Hold on, I'm going to try and move a bit closer. I've just moved off somewhat. There's about 3 males I think I can see here. Oh, they are beautiful. Hold on. It's quite thick here at the moment. It's a nice view of this one. There we go. Since there's a pole in your way. Oh, is it right? So we had to put our roofs on this morning because of the weather. Hold on. Yeah, that's a beautiful big male. You can see the tips of the horns are white. That's often a sign of age. It happens with the kudu as well. The larger the horns and the older the animal, then you see those horns become very white on the tip. I do love seeing these in Nyala. Another male is walking up towards him. Let's see, I wonder if they, because there are no females around, and just because these males do often move in groups, bachelor herds, they don't always challenge one another, so they'll move around happily feeding together until you put a female in the mix, and then they start challenging and displaying and trying to intimidate one another. I can hear some parrots calling. They just flew over us, the brown-headed parrots. Oh, now, hang on, everyone. Brent has got lion cubs in the road. Let's go have a look into the Mara.
Look at this. It's 4 of the 7 cubs from the Ngama Pride. They've been left while the females have gone hunting. The other 3 were following the adults, and they're about to disappear into a lugger. Now, a lugger is a drainage system with very steep sides, and it's probably quite a good idea to be a bit safe for them there. There are a big herd of buffalo around, and buffalo have been known to stomp cubs before, so this is quite exciting. This is the closest we've got to these little creatures so far, and they are absolutely adorable. Now there was... Okay, so I'm just going to move forward a little bit, eggs. So when? Okay. There we go. So a big herd of buffalo. Now the lionesses. Doug says it's the males really.
Okay, it sounds like you are back with me now. So I think Brent's signal is dipping a little bit there. Hopefully we'll get that back up for you soon. Show you those lions. Now we're just driving around. I'm actually not too sure where to start looking for signs of those leopards, because yesterday they were moving all over the show, and I think because of that interaction between the big male and the young male, and Sana and who we think possibly Tingana, I'm not sure. The leopards then get a bit nervous and they disappear almost. They moved all over the show, covered quite a large area yesterday, up and down a few different roads. So there was a bit of confusion yesterday. There was indeed. So hopefully we get some fresh tracks and we can try find them. Hopefully put everything into perspective for us. so we understand what's going on.